What's up, Fu? Okay, I'm gonna throw this in the Discord real quick.
All right, we're live.
Bum, 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 bum. Throw this in the Discord real quick. Okay, cool.
Also, just a reminder, if anybody is watching the stream who's in this call, make sure you mute
YouTube.
Mute the YouTube, yeah, or we'll get feedback.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share the. Fettis, or you or Christopher want to share the agenda? I'm not a host currently, so.
I can fix that.
Let's see.
You're not going to have technical difficulty sharing this time, are you?
No, I 100% am. I don't know what the deal with my Zoom is. It doesn't let me like see what the thing I'm gonna be sharing is.
I think Trent just looks for new and innovative ways to dox himself every time. That's really what Yam's innovation is all about.
Yeah.
Let's get creative with the doxing. Okay, can someone else share it real quick? Sorry.
I can't. It's Chris, you've got to do it.
All right.
I was hoping that I was just blindly hoping that the issue would sort itself out, but for next week I'll actually do a little bit of prep work to avoid whatever this issue is.
The link is in the chat if you need it, Chris.
Yeah. I have it pulled up. And share screen. Here we go. Cool.
Excellent. Okay, cool. Well, we're starting a little late. We've got a lot to cover. I think we might as well just skip the introductions. For the most part, I think most of you know who we are. Maybe we can do quick ones. I'm Trent. I do various operations and product things for Yam.
I'm Nate. I write smart contracts for Yam.
Hey, I'm Bruce. I do branding and marketing for Yam.
Hey, this is Fettis. I do organizational for Yam.
Yeah, this is Jim, and like Bruce, marketing and branding.
This is Chris, also marketing and branding and content creation.
Sweet. Okay, so we're going to run through the past week in governance. We obviously had a lot of snapshot votes this week, so we're just going to run through kind of what those are. Before the snapshots, we'll talk about the index farming continuation. Basically, index continued their farming, but it's in a new contract. So Nate wrote up a governance proposal on chain to essentially move our ETH DPI from the existing farm to the extended farm. So that's currently passing on chain. Then we have, this big old series of snapshot votes. So the full-time contributor compensation proposals are currently on Snapshot and available for voting. So make sure that you go participate in that. We also approved this week a 250K WBTC purchase. So we'll be executing that via the OTC contract with Grapefruits like we usually do. We'll talk a little bit about the Yam DAO set V2 contracts later in the future. A lot of this kind of purchase will be able to be executed through that, but we're still probably about 2 weeks away from fully launching that product. So figure we might as well do the OTC contract for this one. We've got an expense account that was approved on Snapshot. It's basically 15 ETH to HODL Dwan for some deployment costs that he helped out with early on, as well as 5,000 YUSD for just various, server costs, discourse subscriptions, kind of all of that type of thing. So that'll kind of get looped into. I think currently it's listed as a multi-sig. We might end up on the Snapshot. We might end up looping that into how we pay for the contributor compensation through that lower quorum governor. But we'll figure that out in some way. It's a fairly small amount. Also related to the EM DAO set, we've elected Krugman via Snapshot vote to be our portfolio manager. So Krugman is currently the second highest AUM token set manager. And he's been obviously a long time contributor to YAM and really helpful in kind of getting this EM DAO set thing orchestrated. So we're really excited about that. Very lucky to have him being kind of the point person on that for us. We've got the token rescue on 8,700 USDC that was accidentally sent to the YAM contract. Pretty straightforward. We've got the Great YAM Wall funding, which has been approved on Snapshot. So that is kind of our solution to the rage quit functionality that ensures that the YAM market cap is always higher than the treasury value. And so we basically are setting aside some funds for that. In the event that the market cap goes below the treasury value, basically that mechanism will use treasury funds to actually go purchase YAM. So that lowers the treasury value and increases the market cap of YAM. So that would be like a public function that anyone can call if it meets the parameters. Excuse me. So we still need to actually develop the code for that. But we now have, the basic mechanism spec'd out, and we have the kind of knowledge of how much funds we're going to use for that endeavor. So yeah, getting closer there. We've also ratified the YAM mission statement on Snapshot, so you can go view that. I think the plan is to kind of do some various branding and marketing around that, make it into a little bit more digestible form than a Snapshot vote that we can kind of share and get people excited about. So I think probably Jim will talk about that a little bit later on with the marketing update. And then the last piece is that the part-time contributors' requests for compensation have all been approved. So these are the contributors that are doing, various community work, part-time marketing and branding exercises, things of that nature. So that's all squared away on Snapshot. Any questions on that whole long list of items? It's a lot, but it's all fairly straightforward. And then upcoming in governance. So as I mentioned, currently on Snapshot, the full-time contributor compensation is included there. As just a kind of side note on that, we've lowered my compensation proposal to remove the YUSD funding, the stablecoin funding, and it's now just vesting YAMs. This is basically indicative of the transition to a slightly more part-time and strategic / advisory type role and capacity in that I'm going to be participating in. Ultimately, this is just a personal decision that I needed to make to, take a little time to figure out my life, go on a little bit of a sabbatical, and just sort my own shit out. But but I'm still going to be really actively involved in the community and participating in the Discord and forum, as well as helping guide some of the product initiatives that I've been working on. So, you're still going to be seeing a lot of me, but it's a little bit more of a part-time capacity. Once we have those compensation proposals approved, assuming they do get approved, we'll then move some of the compensation payment processing on chain. We'll move that token rescue on chain. We need to allocate the certain amount of funds to YDS once we get that fully functional in collaboration with set protocol. So I'm not sure, Fedis, do we have actually a amount that we're currently going to dedicate to YAM DAO set? And do we have a plan for, we're going to do like 1% the first week and do some testing around it, and then the other 99% a couple weeks later? What's kind of the status and plan you see going on there?
Sure, Trent. So for YDS, we're getting the contracts together, and then the trader interface we've got to build. After the trader interface is built, we plan on testing. So probably just putting a small amount of funds, not even 1%, I would say, just to make sure everything's doing what it should be doing. We can do that with minimal amount of ETH and then trade it and use the functions inside of the trader set. As far as the total amount of assets that we're going to put inside, it's most likely we'll do a snapshot, obviously, or a proposal, snapshot, etc. But most likely we're thinking of just taking all the current non-YUSD assets, except for Sushi and Index, and put it inside. So right now that would consist of Ethereum, WBTC that we're going to buy, and DPI. So just those three assets essentially. This all depends on the farming with the index. So we might leave the DPI farming stuff aside for the time being, because putting it inside the set might be difficult. We have to build some more smart contracts around actually farming the set within YDS. So that will be set aside. We'll just put in the pure assets into the YDS initially. But the goal is to move all those non-YUSD assets inside the YDS.
Okay, excellent. And I assume we'll probably have a snapshot vote and then the on-chain to actually move it in there. And the last thing that's upcoming in governance, I'm sure you've probably seen an alt rebase discussion, and then on the forum, just a lot of discussion currently regarding the rebase mechanics. So this kind of started off last week with a number of proposals and considerations of how we can slightly tweak the rebase in one way or another. The conversation has kind of shifted to be more around, whether we want the rebase at all, whether we want to just remove the treasury purchase, what's going to replace a treasury purchase mechanism. So just kind of a number of discussions going on there. I know we have rebase proponents and detractors in the community. So there's a really healthy discussion going on the forum there. Excellent. I think that's pretty much all of the kind of pressing governance needs that are clear at this point. Any questions on those?
I think it's all,
Cool.
I think it's all pretty straightforward.
Yep, agreed. Fedis, you want to give a little bit of organizational update? I know there's not necessarily a ton there, but yeah.
Sure. So you went over most of it. Right now, we're currently discussing the rebase, what to do with it. And to be clear, myself and another community member wrote the initial proposal. But whatever way it goes, if the community decides that, hey, we need to do this or that, regardless of my personal opinion, as a team, as the team member, as the YAM team, we will support whatever the community decides. So definitely, if you get a chance, go out and add your comments, discuss it. It is a very important part of YAM, and for those that have been with YAM since the beginning, that this mechanism, the rebase with the treasury purchase, is basically the key part of this. So changing it is not something that we take lightly. I'm not the first one to discuss it, and I'm sure I won't be the last. But putting it out there because the community has asked for it, has talked about it, is kind of our position as team members. So we value your input. Definitely come in, let us know what you think. There's the polls on there. If you have any other ideas and you would like to discuss those or put a poll up, let me know. Just talk to me, and then I can put it up on the main post. But definitely, this is not something that we will do overnight. It's something that we need to discuss, decide. Maybe there are some other ways to do this better. Maybe there's an option of removing the rebase on the main governance token of YAM, and then creating a new rebase token. Option, not necessarily has to be done that way, but let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Again, at the end of the day, YAM is a DAO. You guys signed on, bought the tokens. When Trent and team originally launched YAM, they very, very clearly stated that it was a experiment. It was that this was a DAO. It was completely on chain. There were no multi-sigs from the beginning. For those of you that know what that means, it is important. So what that means is if you have tokens, you're part of the DAO. You have a say. So come in, talk to us, let us know what's going on. As we move forward in YAM, it's a DAO. So we need the community with us to help us move YAM along. So as far as other organizational things, a lot of the small stuff is being taken care of. We're also looking into taking care of some other small loose ends, tying up V2, figuring out what to do with the older tokens so that there's not as much confusion. Generally, organizationally, just making things smoother, more focused on what we're currently doing, which is building products, and then less on miscellaneous confusion. So if you guys have any ideas as far as how to do that, please let me know. Just ping me. I'm pretty much always on Discord. Back to you, Chris.
I do have a comment just about the rebasing conversation, and I want to really encourage everybody here, like our whole community, just to approach this conversation with a YAM-centric perspective. Rebasing itself is a highly controversial mechanic. It's very new, and I think we can all agree, even the pro-rebasing people can agree that it's still a TBD whether it works the way it's supposed to work, or whether in the long run it'll do what it's supposed to do. However, that's not the conversation we're having. Like, we're not having an esoteric discussion about what, is rebasing good or bad. We should be talking about, is rebasing right for YAM? Like, for what YAM is trying to be and what YAM is trying to do, does rebasing accomplish it? And I don't know the answer. Like, I have my opinions, but like, as Feta said, this is a DAO. But I would really strongly encourage everyone to focus on, like, okay, as a community, what are we trying to do with YAM? Is rebasing getting in the way of that, or is it a stepping stone towards that. Because ultimately, that's really the heart of the question and the decision we're trying to make here.
That's very nicely put, Chris. Trent?
Agreed. And it's always great in those discussions when you can provide more context for your opinion than yay or nay. I think we get a lot of yay or nay participation, which doesn't exactly move the conversation forward a whole lot. But there's also some really great substantive conversation that's going on. So yeah, definitely keep that up. All right, marketing folks, you want to give a little update on your side of things? I know Jim, obviously we just got the mission statement ratified, maybe any plans there, and then Chili, just kind of any of the initiatives that you're working on.
Yeah, great, Jim. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Thanks. Sorry for being on picture mode instead of video mode. I've been working on YAM while that's going on. And hey, it's great that the mission statement has been voted in, and that's a groundwork that's very important for the consensus. Gives us now, let's call it an agreed platform from which we can move forward on. And then the way I think about it is that, YAM started as, mostly the purpose of the YAM brand and website, beyond the experimental aspects, was to farm. It was a farm. That was kind of the first iteration. And I think what's so interesting about YAM is that it's kind of like a little bit like a blind person walking with a stick, just kind of figuring out where we're going at the time. Just, we don't really know. We didn't have a plan really set. Like, we're going to be an AMM. We didn't have anything like that. So developing the mission statement was important to establish a foundation for this blank slate. And now the blank slate's starting to be filled in with the YDS internal investment project, which is really very cool for building off of the current treasury. And then there's the long planned and now in execution umbrella, the insurance product or coverage product, and then degenerative. So we're starting to get this momentum going. Now the question becomes, okay, so if YAM was a farm and now we're kind of somewhere in between, maybe like a little bit of no man's zone, what do we need to do with the YAM brand and specifically the YAM website and the brand relationship between YAM and these products that are being produced? How do we develop the YAM brand to allow for this continued growth and development into a variety of areas that we don't really know what it is going to be right now? Each one of the products that come out will have a different relationship to the core brand of YAM. And so the YAM brand needs to support, in some cases, a brand that's basically referring to YAM as their backing. In other cases, future products might be spun out that don't have any relationship to brand other than the fact that they came out of the YAM factory. And in other cases, there might be core products like YDS that are endemic to YAM. So how does the website and the brand develop going forward to establish this foundation and this variety of relationships? So that's the next step, really, is a project that I have, is to start figuring out how the YAM website can take the mission statement and establish this open yet concise baseline to support all the product introductions and growth as we go forward, and to use this treasury in the Yam factory and the expertise in the community and the core team to develop new products going forward, so that we have a web architecture that supports that, an internal architecture that supports that, and we already have a treasury that supports that.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm excited to get some new info, new branding, not necessarily in terms of aesthetic, but just more information on the website, making that a bigger pillar of kind of where to discover what Yam is all about, because it's not really clear what Yam is all about on the website right now. So I'm really excited to see that particularly come to light.
Well, and now that this has been approved and affirmed by the community, I mean, we're going to be referring to these brand pillars and this mission statement all the time. Like, it's basically going to be our backboard for, is this something we should do? Well, let's look at the mission statement. Let's look at the brand pillars. How does this align? So like, it really was an important step for us to take to, essentially even help inform our strategy moving forward.
100%. Cool. Chili, you want to give a
Yeah.
couple thoughts on what you've been working on?
Yeah, so this week, we've been pushing hard on the brand and visuals for Degenerative and Umbrella. Both are launching pretty soon, and we want to make a great first impression. Been working on wireframes for the Degenerative UI and collaborating with the UMA team on it. The goal is to make a website that is very clean, easy to use, with a bit of Yam zombie pop on top as flavor. And we're also doing some wireframe work for Umbrella, and working with Jim on the brand pillars for Umbrella and help. And then once the wireframes are done for both projects, the goal is to make a UI, a website web design that really reflects that aesthetic and vision for the projects. Also doing some content creation, animations, small illustrations, to celebrate the launch of Umbrella and Degenerative this coming month. That's mostly it this week.
Sick. Yeah, our visuals game has gone up considerably since Bruce has come on to work more full time. Our graphics game is fucking sick. So make sure you all go check out. We just posted the Medium article about the UMA collaboration, so you can see some of that graphics work there. So that's on the Twitter, and throw that the old like and retweet action, get the word out. Pretty excited about that. So going to just a little Umbrella protocol update. I was talking with Brock and ZeroX earlier today, and we are going to officially be having that internal testing out tomorrow, as far as they have confirmed with me. So, all of the smart contract stuff is done. Really what we're waiting on there is just for the UI to get there. We're not over engineering that UI. It's not going to be the final UI, but we still do want it to be like a clean and representative experience of what it's going to be like to participate in this protocol. Because, even though it's an internal alpha, and maybe not everyone is actually going to go and like purchase cover with it, I think it is still probably going to get a good number of eyeballs. So we want it to be, representative of what Yam can do and build, and make sure that that's a good experience. So as far as just an update on the token discussion, we've got the forum discussion up on that, and it's kind of dropped off since a lot of last week's discussion. The two top voted options are no token and future token. And so basically we're not going to do a snapshot vote or anything for that. I mean, the top vote is no token, so like basically it's a no action proposal. So we're not going to go like ratify that via snapshot or anything like that. But that's looking like where the conversation has gone currently. So you know, that's the current plan. And obviously, you know, as we get through alpha testing and go into audit and all of that, you know, those conversations can of course continue. The other key piece of on the umbrella front is that we really need to start rallying around a umbrella arbitration criteria. So basically what we as a community are, how we as a community are going to act as the arbiter. What are the type of, you know, claims that we are going to cover? What's, where those edge cases, what's our dividing line? Just starting to really have those discussions to make it clear what kind of arbiters we are going to be. And I imagine that discussion might continue on for a little while. You know, not going to necessarily need to do any arbitring in the next month or so. So there's going to be plenty of space for that conversation, but it's a really critical one in terms of our role as arbiters. It's really essential for the product that we're developing. You know, other arbiters can always come in and build on top of Umbrella. It's a pretty extendable DeFi Lego in that capacity, and they can do whatever they want. But the product YAM is building is the meta pools that we create or that we approve, and arbitration is like key to that value proposition when it comes to the pools that that we're hosting. So that'll be up on the forum in the nearish future. I've been doing some thinking on it and starting to get some words down. But if anybody wants to collaborate on that with me, if they want to, you know, take a stab at creating a criteria, definitely happy to have conversations with anybody interested in that domain. Any thoughts on the umbrella protocol? I guess the other thing I should say is, you know, we're when we publish when we push out the alpha test, we're also going to have an updated light paper. The one key change between the original light paper and the original Medium post and what the alpha is actually going to look like is shifting from this perpetual ERC20 to a NFT based system. So essentially the ERC20 was going to have this funding rate where your coverage was going to be tied to how much you had staked. And that coverage was always going to be decreasing over time. The amount you were paying was going to fluctuate with the funding rate. It was going to be a really tough user experience. And when we did the product survey, the biggest thing that came out of that was users saying the thing they care most about in choosing an insurance or a protection provider is ease of experience, simplicity of coverage buying, simplicity of claim redemption. And so clearly the system we had was at odds with that really high priority. So we made the switch to NFT. It's going to be really simple. You say, you know, I want this payout in the event of a claim, and I want it for this long, and here's how much you have to pay for that. So it's just going to really streamline and make that process much simpler for the users. Okay, now any questions?
Just wanted to quickly ask whether what's the token going to be in that people are going to buy coverage in or sell protection? Is that in YAM or ETH or whatever DAI?
Yeah, good question. So it's it can the payout token, the protection asset is set at Metapool creation, so it can be, you know, whatever you want. And that's you know, that'll be a conversation that we need to have in terms of what our preferred asset is. I'm guessing that the primary primary tokens will be ETH, DAI, USDC. You know, maybe some hot new stablecoin will eventually be included in there, but I think those are kind of the three go-tos that I would imagine people would be interested in using.
And then the only other thing is, I don't know how much details you have, but I know you are working on the light paper. Just in the community and the Umbrella Discord channels, people have been asking about sort of the user story and the flow. And I know we'll get a little bit more, you know, live action when the alpha is released. Knowing that the alpha is capital restricted, I think there's only like $1,000 that's allowed to be put on it, just as we're testing, and we'll buy coverage for $1 or something like that, and
Yep.
test it out. But people are looking for user stories. I don't know if that can come now or tomorrow, or just sort of as part of the alpha.
Yeah, that's a great point. We obviously have a great idea of the flow and some kind of things mocked up in terms of what that flow looks like and is going to look like on the website and things like that. But in terms of user stories, I think that's definitely something that we can start to work on and get out to people.
So we've talked also about, well, Bruce and I have anyway, I think, and Kyle, Chris, is that we've talked about user guides and user guide for protection buyer and user guide for protection provider. Now, I know that's not what you were just talking about, but it feels like a critical piece.
It is. I think that's definitely what it leads into, for sure. So I think obviously as the spec was set up and the smart contracts have been programmed, that's one step. And then obviously the site designers need sort of a flow for users. But absolutely, when we get to descriptions or trying to sell this to other like users in general, obviously a story is going to be very important, that they go, oh, I understand why I would want this, when I would want this, and how to use it.
Basically, the value prop is what you're like. What's the value proposition? Like the official value proposition.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that just it's important to as part of our flow and as part of our advertising or marketing. Agreed. And I know we've been playing with a lot of different taglines and sort of marketing like copy pitches that eventually will end up on our site. Jim's got quite a few good ones, but we definitely will need to make that clear for users before when we launch like the beta or the full release.
Yeah, and I know Jim's also been working on some umbrella brand pillars. I'm wondering if when we push those to the forum, we can also include some kind of user flow stories of, Jane's a 25-year-old nurse who put $100,000 into Harvest Finance and is now sending transactions to the hacker to try and reclaim those funds. If she had only used, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
So are those the stories? Is that what I'm a little ignorant about what the story means exactly. I was wondering if we could kind of nail it down here.
Yeah. So I'll go a little more serious. you know, as an investor, you want to know, hey, I've got $100,000 in Harvest Finance. How capital efficient can I get coverage for? Do I have to put, you know, $50,000 into protection, or do I pay $1,000 a week? Can I top it up as I go? Basically, how much am I going to have to pay, or how much capital am I going to have to? How much am I going to have to pay weekly, monthly, or streamed, or whatever? Or how much capital do I have to lock up, which is opportunity cost, because there's other things to do in the market than to hold insurance. But by the same token, if you think that there's a, you know, 10% chance that you're gonna lose everything in an investment somewhere because of a hack, then that is definitely something that is gonna come into your calculus as to whether you jump into it or not.
Okay, so you basically mentioned 2 points there, or 2 perspectives. So the buyer side and the provider side. And yeah, so Hadelwan, can you just repeat what you said for the protection provider? How much?
So as a protection provider, you want to know that you're basically making the same guess as to whether a protocol is going to get hacked or not, but you want to know how much capital you have to lock up and for how long, and what your anticipated return is. And so something that has like a 10% chance to get hacked, in your estimation, you might want, like, these, from my understanding, the meta pools let us do this, which is we basically get leverage. So you get to bet on multiple protocols and you get multiple streams, but only one of them is likely to get hacked. It's not likely that all of them gets hacked. But as a protocol seller, or a protection seller, not a protocol seller, a protection seller, you are making that choice as to which ones you think are least likely to get hacked. And hopefully you find the balance between your profit and loss.
It's basically, we need to provide the information that our users need on both the coverage providers side of things and also the coverage seekers side of things, for our users to appropriately do cost analysis and decide whether or not they want to use our protocol or not, whether it's worth it to them financially or not, whether the risk is high enough for them that they want to mitigate it with coverage at the cost that for which we're offering coverage. And because every coverage provider out in the market does it in a different way, because it's DeFi, and that's kind of the cool thing. Users need to know how we do it differently than Nexus and Cover and everybody else, so they can then make the decision whether they want to use those guys or they want to use us. Hodl, am I doing
For sure,
good,
for sure.
Good job translating non-delay terms?
Yeah. And then the other interesting thing that we talked about a couple meetings ago with Umbrella is that it doesn't have to just be for hacks. It could be for other interesting things. And so that's certainly something to look forward in the future, because I know back in the day we were talking about a lending protocol, and that it doesn't have a champion right now, but it certainly is an interesting thing. But you could think of something like making a lending protocol where you have a two-sided market and you want to protect against not just liquidations. Like, you're not the person borrowing and you want to protect against a liquidation. It's you would be the person lending and you want to protect against a black swan event, right? So where the collateral that you're lending against not only has crashed, but crashed more than what you are owed, the debt. So below the amount of debt that you have lent out to somebody else. So say it's basically, it's like MakerDAO. You remember how MakerDAO had to print a bunch of Maker to pay off their $0 auctions? It would be something like you could get an insurance product for that. MakerDAO ended up printing their own token to cover that as kind of an insurance thing. But then their protocol has had to go and pay that back off now. So it's something like that, a little bit more. Again, Umbrella is a Lego, right? It's a DeFi Lego. So we could do interesting things like that as a piece of a protocol.
Honestly, I think it'd be really cool to combine it at some point, or look for ways to integrate it with what we're doing with UMA and the generative side of things too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and UFO insurance.
Of course.
I'm a strong proponent of UFO insurance.
Can we call the token SETI?
Hell yeah. Cool. Okay, let's move on to the YAM DAO set. Nate with a quick update here.
Yeah, pretty much all my updates have already been covered regarding this. The contracts are ready to go with the kind of MVP, which is basically holding assets and then trading on basic DEX. Those are all set. We just got a kind of boilerplate interface from Set that we're going to be building off of to fit our set manager's needs better. Yeah, and like someone else said earlier, we're thinking probably about 2 weeks until it's fully realized, really.
Excellent. And then moving on to degenerative. So again, obviously we just published our Medium article in collaboration with UMA about taking over the UGAS contracts from them. So the way that's going to work is they give 50,000 UMA per week to the controllers of their synthetic contracts in proportion to the dollar value of the synths minted on those contracts. So once we take those over, kind of 10% flat fee of the however much synths are minted, whatever our pro rata proportion then of the UMA rewards, 10% just goes straight to YAM. 40% are then going to go to dApp mining. So this is basically where anyone providing an interface for this financial contract, this UGAS contract, can tag their interface with a specific address that then lets UMA know when they disperse their 50K UMA per week, know where to send that. So this is, we expect we're going to get most of the dApp mining rewards here. But it's important, it was important to them to create a kind of open system that anyone can participate in. And ultimately, if there's some other interface that becomes massive for this for some reason, really that's likely just growing the pie. Say it's it's a alternate language interface, that's blowing up in the East. We're still getting a strong percentage of those rewards because we get the flat 10% fee. So I look at it as largely additive, not subtracting from the rewards that we would be getting. And then 50% will also be going to, of those rewards will be going to liquidity mining. So basically whoever's providing liquidity in Uniswap for this UGAS token will get a portion of those rewards, which makes sense because that increases the amount of synths that are minted. So there's actually a legitimate arbitrage that starts to exist there. So that's the breakdown of how those rewards and things are going to work. As far as degenerative more broadly, we're going to be publishing this interface on December 21st, and that's when people will be able to come to the degenerative website and interact with it and mint these contracts. from the January, February, and March gas contracts. And then we're also working with UMA to develop additional products to release in under the Degenerative brand. So one of the things we're working with them on is a volatility derivative, Bitcoin volatility derivative. We're looking at some total value locked derivatives. So basically just this idea of how can we take, essentially data that's already on chain that shows something interesting that DeFi degens might be interested in speculating on, or can be useful for a hedge. So I think UMA's financial contracts are extremely flexible and offer a lot of just a really large design space. So I'm pretty excited to continue exploring that. One of the ideas that Brock and Chris came to separately was essentially an impermanent loss hedge token that will essentially track the impermanent loss that someone would receive on, ETH DAI, for instance. So the making of a token like that is actually really, really easy. We can do it today. The liquidity and trading experience is a little bit more difficult because you end up having impermanent loss on your impermanent loss token. We then need an impermanent loss of the impermanent loss token, and then it's turtles all the way down there. But I'm sure we can. There's some interesting things with objective specific bonding curves that we can do, automated market makers. So that's one potential route we can go down. We can, essentially just get pretty creative in terms of how we might be able to solve that issue. So again, there's a ton of room to play in the UMA degenerative space, and really excited to kick that off and keep collaborating with them. And it's also a great opportunity to potentially bring more people into the kind of YAM developer ecosystem as developers go into UMA's ecosystem and want to build something that might be a good fit for degenerative. We basically are like, hey, come check degenerative out and contribute to what we have going on, and look at all the other cool stuff we have going on with YAM right now. So very exciting collaboration. YAM getting into the collaboration game. You love to see it. Very excited.
Yeah, we I've noticed in the Discord quite a bit. We given recent events, it has been asked occasionally, has YAM been approached by fill in the blank? We all know who people are asking about. So obviously the idea of collaborating is clearly on our community's minds. And I say that, so I'm bringing this up because UMA is a great opportunity for us as a community to show that we're worth collaborating with. That we're actually going to be able to accomplish something meaningful with other protocols and other dev teams if we work together. And if we can't show that, if it's a dumpster fire, then that says something too, right? And the community, and then the rest of the DeFi space is gonna be like, you know what, they're not ready yet. So I say that as a bit of a challenge for our community to step up our game a little bit. And if we really want to collaborate that much with various parties, then let's make sure we're a protocol that's worth collaborating with. We got to bring something to the table.
100%.
Also, in particular, I'm very excited about the UMA project. I think just the idea of, so for people who aren't aware, basically they're a key component of all of this is basically finding a way to distill something into a trackable number or trackable data that can then be fed into a contract. So with the IL, the impermanent loss question, it was sort of a matter of, is this something we can actually distill and track, and then that can be verified. So for people who are kind of brainstorming ideas and potential derivatives, that could be part of this project in the future. start with that, kind of figure out how can we glean that data that could then be used. But then what I love about it though is just the potential for synergy within the rest of our ecosystem. And that's something that like for me is very important, that like, yes, we have these sort of siloed products, but more and more I'm seeing opportunities for, Umbrella to play well with YDS one day, and like, Degenerative to play well with Umbrella, with YDS, with, like everything could kind of interconnect, as we build these base level Legos, now we can start building our Lego castle, which is pretty cool for me.
Yeah, definitely. Makes me think we also need to get Degenerative to be a category in the Discord, and then have a few channels in terms of like just kind of general updates, ideas for new synths, feedback, things like that. Yep. It's cool stuff. Okay, I think that's kind of all we had specifically on the agenda. Are there any other, things people want to chat about, concerns, questions, whatever it is? I know we at least earlier did it. We've got a few people listening in, so feel free to ping us in the chat here, or anyone speak up and holler out. Otherwise, been a great call, y'all.
You guys should be proud of us. We kept it to an hour.
Indeed, crushed it. Brief side note: I think we're gonna in a little bit here link up with ZeroX to walk through the Degenerative wireframe.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Cool. All right, gang. Well, as always, appreciate the time and thoughts.
Good night, guys. Bye.
All right, thanks.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everyone.
Bye.
Thank
All
you.
right, guys.
Bye.